morning from my side. Very nice to be here and to see all of you this morning here in Lucerne. Coming up next, we will talk with two very interesting ladies, and we will talk data. And listening to that, or given the fact that we say data, oh yes, digitalization, 2023, of course, yes. But data became one of the most important resources in the digital age. But the question is, are we aware of that fact? And if we are, what does that exactly mean to our societies, to our economies, and to our governments here in Europe? And I'm eager to get some answers. I hope you are too. So please give a very warm welcome to the First Lady, live from Paris this morning. She is the CEO of Orange business. So, Aliette Mousnier-Lompré, good morning to Paris. We are very happy to have you here this morning.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So I am indeed Aliette Mousnier-Lompré. I'm the CEO of Orange Business. And I'll talk today about digital innovation in Europe. And before jumping into the topic, let me first briefly explain what I do and where are my insights coming from. So Orange Business is actually a very privileged watchtower of the global digital economy. We are a network and digital integrators working with thousands of enterprises all over the world at the intersection of the telco and the IT market. So what we do is that we are bringing cutting-edge technology to our customers, like software-defined networks, cybersecurity, cloud, AI, IoT. We support their innovation projects through digital. Our annual revenue is roughly 8 billion, and our customers are ranging from small offices in France to very large multinational companies on all continents. And today, our second country of network operations after France is China. So we are definitely a European player, but we have a global business. And as we combine technologies from software editors or cloud players together with our networks, our role is to make it work operationally for enterprises. It means that we are a kind of innovation enabler. And for us, the geopolitical dynamics at play are vital. And now I will share with you what I see at the moment on the market. In the past year, the US have largely led the digitization of businesses everywhere in the world. We've seen huge wave of organizations that have been putting their data into the cloud. Corporate data went from being 30% in the cloud in 2015 to 60% in 2022. And there are three main players today accounting for a vast majority of the market, so for 66% of the market shares in the world at the beginning of this year. And those three players are Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, and Google. And it's very important because once the data is in the cloud, in those clouds, it gives those cloud providers a prime position to propose services around those data and to accelerate innovation. Those clouds, they are today extensively used to run software pieces that are meant to digitalize company operations. I'll give you two examples. One illustration is about all those businesses that are willing to digitalize and to automate their workflows. For instance, you want to automate and to digitalize your invoices, your contact management, your expense claims, and to put all of this on portals and online. And to do this, there is one player today which is gaining a lot of market shares, providing solutions to do this. This player is called ServiceNow. They provide portals, automation, low-code AI. They posted a growth of 25% in Q3 this year, exceeding expectations. And most of the businesses and most of our customers use them. And they are American as well. Another illustration of critical software used to digitalize organizations' operations are the collaboration tools for enterprises. And today, discussing with you from Paris, I'm using a tool called Microsoft Teams. And we know this space of collaboration tools, video tools, has been revolutionized by the COVID pandemic. And all those tools are called Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, Slack. And guess what? They are all American players. So it's fair to say that the digital revolution, which touches every single business as we speak, relies largely or very largely on American technologies today. And to understand the dynamics at play, I'll share with you the well-known example of Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft started with Windows and Excel, and it's now conquering every bit of IT in enterprises in Europe and in the world. Microsoft has become business critical through Teams that I mentioned. Their market share in collaboration for large enterprises is 80% today, 80. And they could even become more critical and dominant with their new Copilot generative AI solution, which is powered by OpenAI and that is embedded into their solutions. So Microsoft by itself almost owns the IT of the European economy. And Europe has created a big dependency on the US from a tech, but also from a business point of view. And what it means is that all the data that are used in all those softwares and clouds, they are eligible to the US Cloud Act and the US Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. So concretely, we are granting access to all of our company data to the American authorities. Of course, depending on your sector of activity and depending on your political sensibility, you may conclude it's a problem or not. But what is for sure is that, as I said, we are creating a massive economic and political dependence to the US. So how did we get there before talking about the future? There are multiple root causes for that. I will just focus and highlight one key item now, which is the lack of scale effect. Europe is still a collection of fragmented markets today, even if the single market has done a lot to bring people together. But clearly we lack scale, and cloud is a blatant example. I mean, the market, as I said, is ultra dominated by US players, and there were multiple European attempts to build clouds that really never really worked because we did not get the right scale in terms of initial market. And those initiatives as well never benefited from massive orders from the public sector, as it's usually done in the US in such situation to kickstart the business. So those businesses, those platforms, they never really took off as fast as they have should, and they finally collapsed. We are in a similar game today when dealing with generative AI. When OpenAI needed to scale ChatGPT, for instance, they only ever considered Amazon Web Services, Google, or Microsoft, precisely because of their scale. And no other option was ever on the table. So they finally concluded a huge partnership with Microsoft, who put $13 billion on the table. And on top of this, they opened the use of their data centers to OpenAI. So in digital, scale breeds scale, and scale attracts money and attracts talents. And in Europe, market is too fragmented still. And a good illustration at the moment of what we are living now precisely is the example of sovereign cloud. We see lots of initiatives to build sovereign clouds in Europe, but each country is doing their own at the moment. We have specific regulations, specific certifications in each European country, which is leading to specific technical solutions. And in parallel, what we see is that Europe is standing for consumers, but sometimes it undermines business. And we are well placed in the Orange Group to feel such pain because we have executed a few telco consolidation moves through M&A recently in Belgium, in Romania, in Spain. And I can tell you that getting the approval of the EU competition authorities is quite a heavy lifting. And maximizing competition is clearly the prime objective in Europe at the moment. rather than creating digital continental champions. So what do we do about this? As I illustrated, I think Europe today does not have the right innovation model at scale. We lack such market scale. We lack of European business policy. We lack, we have weakness in underlying key technologies such as cloud. So it's easy to have a kind of inferiority complex, but we need to do something about it. So first, we need to get rid of this inferiority complex, because there are definitely battles to be won in the digital field in the coming years. I would like now to focus on AI, which is a big buzz at the moment. Europe and European AI has a present and a future. At the moment, what we see is generative AI is stealing the show, and the engine behind generative AI are what we call large language models, LLMs. They need huge investments because training them is very, very expensive. You need huge computing power. So the big players are OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Meta. So again, all Americans. There are large language model startups in Europe. I could mention Stability AI in UK or Mistral AI in France. It will be a big challenge for them because, as I said, large language models are requiring scale. They are requiring huge investments. But AI is not limited to generative AI. We also need what we call narrow AI. So unlike general artificial intelligence, narrow AI seeks to mimic, general artificial intelligence will try to look at complex thought processes, but narrow AI is designed to successfully complete a single task without human assistance. And popular applications for narrow AI includes, for instance, language translation, which is a very well-known use case, but it's also about image recognition, for instance. And the health sector is a great illustration of the potential of narrow AI. We need, for instance, we don't need one generic model in the health sector. We need one narrow state-of-the-art AI model for each and every single disease. For instance, we need one for brain cancer. We need one for leukemia. So narrow AI is most of what we see being implemented in enterprises at the moment. For us, it's a booming market at more than 35% growth year on year. And because it has clear business value. Enterprises don't look so much as general assistants. They want very precise and reliable models. So we see multiple examples in this area. For instance, at the moment, we help a French insurance company to develop an AI to detect fraud. So we need to be very specific to use their set of data and to build a specific model for them. We work also with a manufacturer on a very specific technology. And what they need is to train their service agents into their call centers. And here they need, again, a very specific AI algorithm that we took from a partner, because as I said at the beginning, at Orange Business, we are not creating or designing those AI algorithms. What we do is that we integrate them into the business environment of our customers. So we took this algorithm, we trained this with very specific set of data. We were able to build models to route the customer calls to the right experts or to propose responses to agents. All those kind of illustrations, and I would have many, are bringing value, direct value to enterprises with clear associated return on investment, clearly solving business problems. And this narrow AI is not necessarily requiring huge computing power. What they require is a lot of expertise, a lot of understanding of the business, leveraging the right and proper data. So coming back to my initial point, it means that it's definitely an addressable challenge. Even for relatively small startups, we don't have trillions in investment capabilities. And European startups are definitely in the race on this topic. And what we could expect as well is that soon sourcing European partners will be favored by the AI Act, because European AI will more natively come with compliance. So hopefully European businesses will have an interest to go for European AI, and European AI definitely has a future. So as I said, we should get rid of this inferiority complex. We should come back to, I mean, if we come back to those big, investments and those big AI topics, I think that in Europe, we can develop European competitiveness if we are more collective as well. We need to learn to develop ecosystemic collaboration. It means that realizing that it's in a company's interest to invest and to contribute to a collective endeavor, not because of dividends or increased sales, but because it creates better market conditions. And when you think about it, there's quite an interesting ongoing development from that perspective on a totally different topic, the management of the supply chain for environmental challenges. It's still very early ages, but CO2-wise, we all depend upstream on how products are designed and built, and we all depend downstream on how they are used. And what we observe at the moment is that enterprises are increasingly including carbon footprint in their tenders when selecting a tech partner. It's now an average of 15 or 20% weight in the selection criteria, which is quite a mark. And the consequence is that it changes how integrators like Orange Business work with partners and providers, how we source them, what we ask of them on CO2 emission optimization. So there could be a similar dynamic for AI and for AI related to values, related to regulation, because clearly the risk of all our AI being in American hands is a challenge. So we should put collective efforts into tackling it and thinking of this into an ecosystemic manner. And my belief is that the stronger European identity and sense of belonging is, the easier such collective approach will be. I'm thinking, for instance, we should probably have a program like Erasmus for professionals, encouraging and facilitating people to go and work in another European country for a few months, to develop such sense of identity and belonging to the European continent, and also to the European business ethics and values. And all of this goes with the need to much more market the European passport in order to attract talents and customers, like Switzerland marketed their approach to financial services, for instance. So what I can tell you as the CEO of Orange Business is that having a European passport has value in international business at the moment, because navigating the digital landscape today, when you are a multinational, having operations, for instance, both in the US and in China, is very complicated. And the easier way to deal with the situation is very often to have a European partner bridging the gaps. And we see as well multiple customers coming to us because they need a global integrator with a European passport to comply with European regulations, to protect or to encrypt their sensitive data that are hosted into those American clouds that I was mentioning. So finally, and to conclude, I would say a strong Europe is definitely an innovative Europe. We have lost some digital battles, and to get back into the digital and AI race, we need both Europe to evolve, but also we as businesses, we need to pay attention to what innovation actually is and tap into the local expertise. And from that perspective, and I won't have time to elaborate on this, but AI needs to lead the revolution of education and skills. We see that things are moving very fast, innovation cycles are accelerating, and some highly critical skills are missing on the market. So there's now a need for continuous upskilling and reskilling through careers from businesses. And this will require also private-public partnerships and innovating funding schemes. So it's a big topic for Europe moving forward. So there are some big innovation races ahead, like green energy, like nuclear fusion, like bioscience and gene editing. Europe has a role to play in those. I also could think about quantum computing. So I would really love Europe to wake up to the AI call and decide to change the innovation paradigm for those races. Thanks a lot.
Aliette, thank you so much for your time, your input, and let's say a wake-up call this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
So we got homework to do, I guess, and maybe we all agree that we want to make a change here in Europe, that we don't want to depend on the United States or China. So how to do that and how to get the challenge done? I would love to talk about exactly that with Petra Ehmann. She is the Chief Innovation Officer at Ringier. And yesterday night, I was lucky to meet Petra in advance and have a little chat with her. And she studied at Stanford in the United States, close to Silicon Valley or part of the Silicon Valley. She worked 9 years for Google, so I'm not sure if I was afraid of that or if I wanted to know more about it. I think it's a mixture of both. Today she is here, and there's one sentence she said last night, and I really think we all want to get to know more about that. She said, there's one very important thing if we want to work in the digital age and get better. We should hire for mindset first and for skills second. And I think this is so not the European way. This is the American way of life or of working life. So let's talk deeper about that. Let's get to know a different mindset, the European compared to the US. And good morning, Petra. We are happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Franka. Good morning, everybody. I would like to share with you a few stories about innovation and technological advancement that I experienced through my personal lens. So don't expect any statistics, etc., but rather stories and experiences that I personally had. We go back many, many years, and I grew up in the heart of Latin America, in La Paz in Bolivia. Anybody here who was in La Paz in Bolivia already? Woohoo! Yeah, beautiful country. I can only recommend it. Has lots of beautiful mountains too for the ones who like mountaineering. So I grew up there, and when we moved there, it was 1998, 1990. So my father brought a fax machine. I got to know the German embassy first time when they always came to our home when they needed to send a fax to Germany or other countries, because they didn't have one yet at that time. Then, in 1994, my father connected the German school to the internet and ensured that every teacher and every student had an email address and had access to the internet. When we moved to Germany in 1996, he talked to the mayor and told him, hey, we need internet access for my school and emails. And there was in Constance, and this guy said to him, oh, email? Oh, was is this? So it was very paradox for 10-year-old Petra to see, coming from one of the poorest countries on the globe to one of the richest countries on the globe and experiencing like a backlash. And what this taught me is innovation and technological progress doesn't naturally come just by a nation you're in or the richness of the nation, but it comes by people who drive change. Now, fast forward many years, and Franka alluded to that. I did my master's degree at Stanford University, and we had this huge privilege, especially as being a German, to have a very high guest there. It was nobody else than Chancellor Angela Merkel. And it was so cool to see her. It was a room full of students, and obviously all the Germans were also there to see her. And it was just fantastic. She talked about NATO, Afghanistan, and then finally she talked about technological progress. And I found her so courageous, because in front of an audience of mostly Americans, she actually told those guys, listen, most of the technological advancements, the large ones, they actually were made in Europe, not in the US. So let me give you a few examples. And then she went on and she gave 4 examples. So the automobile invented by Carl Benz, 1886, in Germany. Then the computer by Konrad Zuse, 1941. Then the fax machine by Rudolf Hell in 1956. And finally, MP3 formats, 1995, by Karl-Heinz Braunschweig. And that was cool. But at the same time, she also admitted that, hey, despite lots of those advancements, they come from Europe, Europe is actually really poor in commercializing them. Who made money from MP3? Who made money from fax machines, etc.? Automobile, okay, but so let's hope that goes well and they get the change that software business will be the one that will drive them in the forward, not the hardware one. And Franca also mentioned that I was at Google. I was there for 9 years, and in my first job, I was working on Google Maps. You know, from the ones who are from Lucerne, Endoxon actually brought the foundation to Google Maps. Their technology came from Lucerne. In my last position at Google, I was working as global lead in product partnerships for augmented reality. And also there, one of the foundations to make that work, VPS, Visual Positioning Systems, was invented not many miles away from Lucerne at ETH Zurich, from the robotics and computer vision labs. And that's powering augmented reality. So it is very true, lots of those advancements in Europe, we have the talent, we have the right academic institutions. Lots of those advancements come from here, but they're not monetized here. And so the question is, like, Europe invests, but doesn't get the return on invest. Europe puts out the seeds, but somebody else takes the fruits. And now, why? Why is that the case? Let me give you 3 reasons, and the first one I think is more of a fake reason. Recently I was at a dinner with board of directors, and I sat next to somebody who actually invests on behalf of lots of family offices. So I wanted to know, what's your favorite startup, or what's your newest technology trend? Tell me. And he was rather like, yeah, I don't invest into many startups. They're too risky. I invest into the mature companies. It's like, okay, that's sad. Maybe good for the investors, but for the entire ecosystem, that is probably not so fruitful. Similarly, I have many friends. So the ones who started a company and just had a PowerPoint presentation, went to the US, to a US venture capitalist, got 2 million in funding, just with a PowerPoint presentation. The ones who decided against all odds, despite everybody was telling them, don't found your company in Europe. You're making your life so miserable. The ones who stayed here, PowerPoint presentation was not enough. They didn't get funding. Even somebody who founded their company 3 years ago, and it's valued very high, a multiple $100 million, got rejected and was told, go back to the drawing board, build your prototype, and come back with a bunch of customers, and then, yeah, we will talk. And they got funding then. Both of them are very successful and are thriving towards unicorns, but the path in Europe is just way more icy. So this is the first reason. I think it's more a fake reason, because I think it's more of a symptom, but not the original reason why things don't work out so well, or the commercialization doesn't work so well in Europe. But I think the true reason, there are 2 reasons. So let me give you an example for the first reason that actually hinders to accelerate innovation in Europe. Another friend of mine founded his company, and he then got approached by an American electric vehicle company. So actually he received once an email, hey, I'm George from this and this company. I saw your product on your website. I think this is cool. I want to check it out. They started talking. They have 4-week cycles. So he shipped the product to this electric vehicle manufacturer in the United States, and they tested it and got feedbacks after 4 weeks. At the same time, he said, well, we're a European startup. Let's work with the German automobile manufacturers. He reached out to some of them. Then he got a meeting. They presented. They went back home. They went back to the headquarters, had another meeting. They presented a roadmap. Then they went back home. Then they didn't hear anything anymore. 3 months. They learned, oh, that person actually doesn't work there anymore. They found another person who worked there. Started the same thing all over again. And then they got so far that after 1.5 years, nothing happened, and they decided it's a waste of time. So let's go with the Americans. What that teaches me is that for companies of a large size in Europe, they oftentimes don't have the trust into an 8 person-led startup. And they rather think, okay, we'll go with the big brands. And I think it's very important that to adopt the American mindset that is rather for value maximization. They know exactly, they're laser sharp, they think, that technology we need, we get it, okay, it's a small startup, whatever, it's working, we tested it, let's go. And Europe, if you think about all the data protection officers, they check everything, and oh no, it doesn't work, and it's too unsafe, etc. And then things don't happen. So I think the first reason is Americans, they go for value maximization, and Europeans go for risk minimization. I think we can learn from Americans here, let's rather go for value maximization. And not forget the risk, but that's second. The second reason why I think innovation and commercialization in Europe isn't working that well, let me give you another example. So, when I came back from Stanford, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues, and we had a huge argument, because he told me, when you start a company, you got to write down, you need a data engineer, and this data engineer needs to be able to work on those pipelines and have those skills, etc. And I need a marketing expertise, and this person needs to be super well aware how to launch TikToks and whatnot. And coming from Silicon Valley, I learned that you hire the best talent, get them on your bus, and then you drive. Roles will change. Products will change, your value proposition will change, everything will change. You need those folks who are willing to change, who are willing to try, who are learning, who are adapting, who are fast. And I think that mindset is very important. Aliette alluded to that in the advent of AI, and I'm working in a media company right now, things will change dramatically. Everybody's business will change because users will change. They have a different expectation towards you. And so you need those people with the right mindset. You need those people who will change. So hire for the mindset and for skills second. And I'll give you one more example from Google, actually. I had the privilege to work together with Luis Barroso under his leadership in my last position at Google. And he was a brilliant engineer. He was actually an electrical engineer, one of the very first employees at Google. And you all know probably Urs Hölzle. He tasked him in the early 2000s to build a data center. And he said, wow, okay, that's bold. He was an electrical engineer who barely knew to code, and he had no clue of data centers. But he did it, and he built an industry standard. And his inexperience in the field is actually really valuable, because inexperience helps you to reinvent. You question everything. It was a standard back then to have the most expensive components and very specialized data centers. But he actually changed that because he bought all the cheap and low-cost components and built them together, built like a computer as a data center. And that became industry standard today, not only at Google, but also across all the large companies. So when it comes to hiring, go for mindset first and skills second, because people who want to learn, they will adapt and they'll get into new fields. You need those people with those mindsets. So, alluding or concluding, I want to close with a quote from one of the biggest ice hockey players on the globe, Wayne Gretzky. And he was not the biggest and the most muscular guy, but he was somebody who's extremely successful. So a journalist once asked him, what's your secret sauce of success? And he said, it's good players go to where the puck is. And great players go to where the puck is going to be. And so Europe has all the right prerequisites. It has the right talent, and it has the right institutions. It has everything there. But now, dear Europe, go to where the puck is going to be. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Petra. Ich glaube, wir dürfen nach diesem Impuls das kurz so im Bilateralen auf Deutsch machen. Wir switchen hier ja den ganzen Morgen schon. Ja. Ganz spannend von dir, letzten Endes Change Management auf allen Ebenen, ein Umdenken, das notwendig ist in Europa. Aber wenn du jetzt drauf guckst, würdest du sagen, zunächst mal muss die Politik in Europa den Weg bereiten? Oder sagst du, nein, die Firmen müssen vorausgehen und umdenken? Oder ist es jede einzelne von uns, die erstmal einen Schalter im Kopf umlegen müssen?
Veränderung ist immer ein sehr großes Thema und ist etwas, was nie nur von einer Seite getrieben werden kann. Von dem her, es muss von überall kommen. Es muss einmal das Mindset sein in den Firmen, es muss die ganzen Rahmenbedingungen sein von der Politik und schlussendlich auch von jedem Einzelnen, der arbeitet, dass er sagt, okay, wir wagen uns, wir trauen etwas Neues. Aber auch, dass sie nachher den Support von den Companies bekommen, damit sie nachher ihr erstes Business und ihre ersten Deals closen können. Weil man kann auch wachsen, nicht nur indem man Funding bekommt, sondern auch indem man die ersten Umsätze erzielt.
Vorangehen. Wir haben gestern schon gesprochen und da sagtest du eben auch, wenn man anfängt, eine Veränderung vorzunehmen, dann muss man manchmal sich rausbewegen aus dieser Comfortzone. Dann hält man eine Deadline mal nicht ein, dann verschiebt man mal ein Meeting. In Amerika sei das ganz normal. Hey, I postpone. Das kann ich auch bestätigen aus meinem Alltag. Im Arbeitsalltag ist es sehr schwierig. Hier in Europa, bei mir in Deutschland, wenn du sagst, hey, das verschieben wir, das machen wir ein anderen Mal, das geht gerade nicht. Wo endet diese Laissez-faire, wo wird es gefährlich und wo müssen wir uns einfach ein bisschen lockerer machen, um da vielleicht auch so einen Silicon Valley-Fortschritt zu erreichen?
Ich glaube, es startet vor allem bei den Zielen. Wenn wir groß denken oder größer denken, und ich sehe das, wir haben einen Accelerator gelauncht bei Ringier und viele Teams denken, okay, wir bauen jetzt etwas, das ist gut für den Markt, in den entsprechenden Markt, nehmen wir die Slowakei oder nehmen wir Bulgarien. Aber sie denken nicht über die Grenzen hinaus. Ich glaube, wenn man mit den großen Zielen anfängt und sagt, wir bauen etwas, was auf einen gewissen User-Need zutrifft, was gewisse Probleme löst, und das ist ein sehr großes Projekt, was wir jetzt angehen, dann glaube ich, ist es eher tolerierbar oder akzeptabel, dass man sagt, okay, wir haben uns so ein großes Ziel gesteckt, wir haben es jetzt nicht in der ganzen Zeit erreicht. Aber man muss auch sagen, wenn man sich ein Riesenziel steckt und nachher 80% erreicht, ist man immer noch weiter, wie man sich ein kleines Ziel ersteckt und nachher immer on time ist.
Petra, erstmal vielen, vielen Dank für diese Impulse heute Morgen, ein Change Management letzten Endes hier live. Ganz kurz, bevor du uns verlässt, deine Prognose. Schaffen wir es in Europa, uns aufzuschließen letzten Endes zu diesem Markt? Oder würdest du sagen, die USA und China sind so weit vorausgeeilt, wir können eigentlich nur noch ein gutes Schlusslicht sein?
Ich bin immer Optimist. Ich glaube an die Leute und ich glaube an das Potenzial. Ich glaube, wir können das schaffen.
Dankeschön.
Gerne.